What does it take to create the greatest plot twist ever?
生まれた時から俺の目の前には鬱陶しい壁がこれが自由だ
Attack on Titan is known for taking a story and manipulating it right under your nose without you even knowing what's going on. And chapter 121, or episode 79 of the anime, was the best example of this. The culmination of Eren's development leads up to this moment. This is where the story goes into its final saga. And Attack on Titan often leverages plot twists to direct its story into a completely new direction. We saw that with Reiner and Bertolt, we saw that with the basement, and now we see that with the memories of the future, directing the story into the final parts, where Eren becomes the true threat. Foreshadowing is a key component in Attack on Titan's ability to draw us into these plot twists. We can see in the first episode, or even better in the first chapter, that there were hints of this happening. Everything makes sense with regards to the characters involved and the events that occur. Reiner and Bertolt's reveal make perfect sense for their character, and not only was that moment foreshadowed, but that moment itself is a form of foreshadowing for the future seasons, which makes it hit even harder looking back. The same thing goes for the memories of the future plot twists. Eren Kruger seeing the future memories of Eren Yeager towards the end of the third season, hinting at the power of the Attack Titan before it is revealed to us in this chaotic moment. Eren kissing Historia's hand and being ashamed of himself. What could have possibly given Eren this look on his face? Well, it's the idea that he himself was the one who started the story. To better understand the gravity of this twist, we must first delve into the significance of the Attack Titan itself. The Attack Titan is unique among the 9 Titans, known for its aggressive nature, combat prowess, and most importantly, its ability to see into future memories and manipulate the memories of its past inheritors by determining the extent to which they can see into the future. The moment we first encounter the Attack Titan's ability is the iconic Eren Kruger scene where he mentions Mikasa and Armin before they have even been born, in typical Attack on Titan fashion, without us having any idea behind the meaning of the moment. But over time, the intricacies of the Attack Titan's power grow clearer. Eren's evolving relationship with his father is key to the narrative, and ultimately we realize that it's not just the Attack Titan's brute force that defines it, but the way that it can transcend time itself through memories. Attack on Titan as a series does a fascinating job of distracting the viewer by the various chaotic moments that occur before these major twists in the story. Like I mentioned with the other twists, including Reiner and Bertolt and the basement, there were incredibly chaotic moments that transpired immediately before those episodes. With Reiner and Bertolt, you had the reveal of Ymir being a Titan just 2 episodes before, you had the Ymir and Historia backstory, and you had the entire battle that spanned all of Season 2 up until that point, not to mention the introduction of the Beast Titan. When looking at the basement, you had arguably one of the greatest series of episodes in the history of Attack on Titan, with the return to Shiganshina arc, Erwin's death, Levi versus the Beast Titan, Armin's death and resurrection, and the overall conclusion of the major battles that took place in that arc. All of these things distract the viewer. Not only do they cloud our minds by drawing us into certain emotions, but they also just have our minds deviated towards the chaos ensuing in the moment. The last thing we expect for Reiner and Bertolt to say in this seemingly calm moment where we can take our breath after the chaos that just transpired is for them to drop literally the biggest what the f moment in the history of anime, with the most nonchalant reveal of quite literally the most important thing in the story up until that point. With the basement, it's a little bit different because it's something that had been anticipated and built up since literally the first episode, so its reveal inevitably had to be something big. However, it's still difficult to be able to top the episodes that came just before it, which Attack on Titan somehow managed to do, by giving us pretty much the entire timeline up until that point, as well as the iconic moments that I've mentioned multiple times in the video already. The Memories of the Future moment does this probably the best of any of these twists that I've mentioned so far. Not only is Season 4 the most chaotic, but literally the most ridiculous scene in the entire show happens just moments before we enter the paths, with Eren's head being shot off. I'm pretty sure most people were thinking more about Eren's survival than what was going to happen in the paths in this moment. Another facet of distraction, or more so something I would call diverting our expectations, is another reason why this moment was so shocking. Now what I mean by this is that everything that occurred in the paths, all the memories that we saw, occurred as we'd expected them to occur. Nothing out of the ordinary really happened. Now I say this with the caveat that we had certain hints that Grisha may have been looking at Zeke and future Eren in these memories, but again, these are meticulously placed so that we kind of have a hint as to what's going on, but at the same time we're skeptical and don't really understand. Again, it's kind of creating a form of chaos in our minds to distract us for what's to come. Moments before, we see Grisha hold up the key to the basement, telling Eren that he's going to show it to him when he gets back. The identical scene to the first episode. And this subtle frame right here of Grisha seemingly looking into future Eren's eyes shows us that this is exactly what had occurred at that time, setting the stage for what's to come in order for us to understand that it was in fact Eren from the very beginning who manipulated his father, and that this was not a change in the future. The moment itself is similar to how Attack on Titan carries out a lot of its other twists. I'm talking about the fact that it does things quite subtly and without the use of much emotion. For example, the moment where Reiner and Bertolt verbally reveal the fact that they are the armored and colossal titans, there's no OST, there's no emotion. It's literally Reiner just being like, yo little bro, I'm the guy who killed your mom. When Kruger mentioned saving Mikasa and Armin, he said it in a very subtle way as though it was part of the conversation. And here, when Eren tells his father to stand up, there's no OST, there's just complete silence, allowing you to sink in the moment. And in this moment, most people would be like, what the fuck is going on? And once the moment is over, similar to Reiner and Bertolt, we get the big drop and the big reveal where holy shit, this is all real. I'm of course talking about Grisha's breakdown. This breakdown and this confession to Zeke is what truly sets the stage for Eren to be the villain, and it really lets us sink in, and it fits into his character so much more as kind of being that villain at this point in the story. Grisha's character and his actions are initially framed in a way that makes him seem like a tragic yet a noble figure. He's a man fighting for freedom, sacrificing everything for the future of his people. He even has the key, literally, to the secrets of the world. But upon the revelation of Eren's influence, we realize that Grisha wasn't merely acting out of self-determination. His decisions were shaped by the very future he was unknowingly helping create. The series keeps us guessing as we wonder whether Grisha's decisions are his own or if they've been guided by some greater unseen force. From the very start, Eren's interactions with his father have been laden with contradictions. Their relationship is strained, and while Grisha's motivations may seem heroic at times, they're ultimately a setup for the tragic revelation that it was in fact our main character that orchestrated everything all along. Grisha carried the ominous, mysterious aura of having something important to do with the story, of somehow manipulating the story. However, we come to realize that he in fact was the biggest victim out of all of us, a truly tragic character that we are shown in this moment. What makes this twist so powerful is not just the intellectual complexity, but the emotional devastation it carries. Eren had to witness his future self commit this act after kissing Historia's hand, and this influenced his decisions and actions moving into season 4, which is what was responsible for his drastic change in emotion and behavior. His entire journey, his desire to destroy the Titans, and his understanding of freedom have all been manipulated by one person. Literally his own fucking self. The emotional impact is heightened when we consider Grisha's sacrifice. He believed he was choosing the right path for humanity and for Eldia's retribution, but in reality his actions were preordained, dictated by the horrifying future that his son would create. This cyclical tragedy, where both father and son are unwitting agents to each other's fates, casts a shadow over the entire narrative, forcing us to question the nature of choice, destiny, and ultimately the cost of freedom, Attack on Titan's strongest theme. This moment is not just a twist, it's the culmination of a grand narrative, one that weaves together fate, memory, and the unbreakable chains of history. Attack on Titan's masterful ability to foreshadow, misdirect, and slow and deliberately build up revelations such as this one are characteristic for its revolutionary rise to the top of anime and manga. Just take a second and look back on Attack on Titan, how this series started versus how it's going. It's truly incredible to see the progression of the characters that we started out with and the narrow ideology of the world that we had around us to the ultimate conclusion of the story. The innocent boy who sought freedom was ultimately the biggest slave himself, and this can be seen as when Eren speaks to his father in this moment, he's shown with one eye. What's characteristic of having one eye, as seen in Ymir's backstory, the identity of being a slave. This moment showcased Eren's freedom to be able to carry out his ultimate goal, but it also encapsulated his slavery to his future self and ultimately to the fates of the story.